Welcome to day 2 of Speed Dogsathon 2023. We're starting off the day with Shadow of the Colossus any percent with tiktak12, and they're just about ready for us. And so we'll probably hop right back into it. We're starting off the day with $1,517. And the morning is just good, or afternoon, evening, wherever it is for you. Nochi should definitely be winning. Yes. So, you know the drill. If you're new, welcome. There'll be links throughout the chat to keep you caught up with us, but otherwise we're going to speed right into the morning and get us started with Shadow of the Colossus and tiktak12 all the way from Germany. So we'll see you in just a moment, starting up that game. Yeah, fish, you guys are distracting me and I'm just waking up. Listen, I'm in Pacific time. It's 9 a.m. What time is it for you in chat? Let us know. Just as we're starting, right? It's going to be an amazing day. Look at what we're starting with.
macaan yahay. Ari waa lahayn, ari waxaa baabaysay cimilada kulul iyo abaar dhulka ah. Anaga marka saas baa la soo guurnay. Awiya xanuustay, xanuun baa ku dhacay shuun dad ah. Hooyo ka soo qaaday isbitaalkii keentay. caafimaad waa ilaa waa ka soo caafimaaday, way fiican tahay. marka la ciyaarayo waa ka qoslisiyaa, markastana waa la ciyaaraa. waa nin mahad celiya oo ilaashan oo xanuunsan, dhakhtarka noo geysan oo noo caafimaadiseen. kulliin waa nin mahad celiya.
That's right, we're raising money for Save the Children today here at Speed Doxathon 2023, and I'm joined with tiktak12 for Shadow of the Colossus any percent. How are you, Tiktak?
I'm doing well, always glad to be here at SDAT. It's one of my favorite marathons, and Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite games. Today it will be any percent normal, which means there will be a lot of horse riding with a beautiful incentive. So if everyone else is ready, I will start the game right away, and then we can get into it.
Absolutely. So I'll 1 second for that. So if you're listening and you've seen our ad and you're an avid Speed Doxathon helper, you're here to donate, you're here to hang out, you're here to support Save the Children, go click that donate link and you can have TikTak stop and pet the horse for $5. And $5 gets so much done in the charity. So on your count, we're ready when you are.
Sure thing. Let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, it's been a while since I've shown Shadow of the Colossus at a marathon at all, so might be a bit rusty with the general thing, but in general it's a game about killing big giant monster colossi, as much of a boss rush as it gets. This game only consists out of 16 different boss fights, which we will try to get past as fast as possible with our protagonist Wander. The backstory is that he's trying to revive his dead girlfriend with the help of a dark old god. So, your usual thing, pretty much.
Like usual.
Yeah, exactly. Ueda is the kind of game designer that really likes his very subtle storytelling. So I guess I will get into the story a little bit here and there, but for now we are on our way to the first Colossus, Vallis. This is more or less an introductory Colossus where we learn how to move, how to stab. And the key component of every boss fight is attacking the sigils. These are like hidden spots on the Colossus body, which allow us to deal damage to them. And with Vallis, the whole thing is usually you climb up on his back and get up very slowly but surely. What we will do is abuse a little fact that during this cutscene that I will coming up right away, I can actually move Wander blindly, and if I did it all correctly, I can land right on him and be on my way. So with normal specifically, there's only one sigil here, so it's a bit of a quicker fight. And that's also the reason why I like the any percent category, because the fights themselves are very quick, and there we go. Vallis is down.
Wow, and I have to tell you, we do have our first donation from Young Toonfish. $5, I see pet, I donate, simple as that. So thank you so much from Save the Children, from Speed Dogs, from TikTak, from all of us here.
Yeah, thank you very much. How I will handle the pets is pretty much after every boss fight, I will do the amount of pets that was donated to. So these are always pretty much the little deadlines before I pet the horse. And right before the last boss fight, I will also tell you all about that. Yeah, we just got hit by the dark energy from the Colossus. The theory here is that it's like parts of Dorman that are hidden within the Colossi that we are unleashing slowly but surely. But, like I said, there's not much said in the game itself, so we can only speculate. So one pet, correct?
We are at one pet now, so y'all open the wallets, start racking them up.
There we go.
Oh my goodness, that was worth.
For sure. Yeah, one thing that I have to mention, the pet button on the control scheme I'm using is the same button as attacking with the sword, so if I accidentally attack aggro at any point, it was not intentional. But aggro is indestructible in this game for the most part, so nothing to worry about.
Fine.
Yeah, and since the times it takes to get to the Colossi is fairly short at the start, you're already going to the second one, Quadratus. Here, the bow is introduced, where usually you would attack the weak points on the hoofs to make the Colossus fall, and then you can climb up. But during the remake of the original, in this specific version on the PS4 and PS5, they overlooked a little fact where you can actually trigger the Colossus fight from up top because some of the pixels were aligned slightly differently. So this is what I will do right now. I will line myself up in a way where I jump down, and right as I jump down the Colossus will spawn hopefully. So let's see about that. Not quite as I jump down, but almost. And here he has two sigils, one at the front, where if I do it perfectly I might get a little launch up here. Nah, not quite, but still good enough. The important part here is to avoid the shakes, because these cost quite a bit of time. And to do that, there's quite a few techniques. For example, on the second sigil, I will attack in a way where after each stab, I reset my positioning so I can pretty much chain them. And that was already the second Colossus done.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
goodness. We have another pet the horse. They're trying to keep you petting every boss, it seems. $5 from CJ, pet that horse in all caps.
Yeah, if we could make that happen, that would be amazing. And thank you so much. But yeah, it's actually quite interesting with some of the tricks in the PS4 version. How they only work because they remodeled a few of the textures. There will be quite a few more examples coming up with that. And the interesting part is, while it's all modernized and clean and good looking, the original version of the game is still running underneath. So in a way the game is running twice during the playthrough. It's the way they remade the whole thing. And here's the pet. Good horse. There we go.
And if you didn't hear, y'all, the name of the horse is Aggro. So if you want to say something for Aggro while you donate, that'll be sitting there until it's forever as well.
For sure. So the next Colossus coming up is quite a famous one. It's the one on the cover art and probably the most well-known fight, Gaius. It's the Colossus with a giant sword attached to his hand. And again, we will be bypassing quite a bit of gameplay. Usually you would try and lower the Colossus to a big platform where he can attack a steel plate, and when he does that, some of his armor will crumble, and then you can easily climb up. But a lot of the theme in the speedrun itself will be physics and the way we use physics to our advantage. Gaius himself has quite a bit of speedrun lore recently because a lot of the strats have changed. Including the fact that the strat that I will be trying to show right here isn't actually the fastest anymore, because originally Upso, a Japanese runner, found a faster setup, which at first was very, very hard to learn. Now, slowly but surely, it's incorporated into the full runs. Though in any percent it's still a mix-up. Going for both is still fine, and I will be trying to go for the full launch, which means ideally, if I get it to work, Wonder will be able to use the momentum of the sword to fly all the way up to the Colossus. Let's see how I can pull this off. I'll be quite honest, in the warm-up to this, it was quite a bit of difficulty for me, not only because the strats have changed and I haven't done this in a while, but also the fact that I have been playing the PS3 version quite a bit recently. And in the PS3 version, the launch works just that little bit different, so the timings can be a little off, and this is also a thing about this game and the speedrun. Just a few things that go wrong can lead to the strats failing pretty much, which makes it just a little bit exciting, because it's more than expected that I fail some of them, and if I do, the backups can be even more interesting and fascinating. So let's see about that one. Here we have a little lineup where I go towards the Colossus with double rolls directly to trigger this animation instantly. It's a bit of an optimization that was found recently. So, now I will need just a little bit of focus. Not quite. Okay. So, the problem there was I was just a little bit late on the jump, which led to me stumbling, and this is a theme in this game. The Wander is very, very stumbly. The fact that he has infinite strength on his grip doesn't really help when he shakes a lot and falls down at every possible moment, but it's not a problem. I have a backup, which is technically the fastest strat. It's just a little bit harder, so let's see if I can pull this off. Wow, Wander is really trying hard to disrupt the strategy. That's not a problem. We'll use the backup of the backup, basically bypassing the armor regardless with a little bit of animation tricks. So eventually we got there. Not quite the coolest trick, but still a fast one, bypassing the armor. Here we'll try to trigger a certain animation. Oh, I failed. Doesn't matter. But yeah, anyway, the belly sigil is already down. Actually, now that I think of it, I might have not had enough arrows, so we'll see. A bit of a chaotic fight. And funnily enough, this is like the speedrun strat that is acknowledged by the developers, because there's actually an achievement for bypassing his armor, so it is in a way intended. So let's see. Yep, just a little bit off on the damage there. But slowly but surely. Just a little bit of extra damage on the belly. Maybe with a slash. There we go. Fun fact. This is also a little thing that you can do that wasn't possible in the PS3 and PS2 version, where if you slash with your sword and there's only little health left, you bypass the slowdown on the last stab, so that makes the whole animation a little quicker. And there we go, that's Gaius.
I mean, for Plan C, it worked out really well.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to let you know you are at 1 pet, and everybody, if you're donating for every $5 right now, you can help us to pet aggro here in just a minute.
Yep, coming up the next pet. But yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about the speedrun is the amount of launches we can get. So the fact that I wasn't able to do it on Gaius, I will try to do a more exciting one on Phaedra, which is the next Colossus, but first a pet, of course. There we go.
It's a pretty horse too, like in between these big colossi. This is nice.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it as well is it's actually made to be controlled like an actual horse. You're not actually controlling aggro, but Wander giving like commands to aggro. You can accelerate, you can turn by using like the steering. But I can actually show it off. If you run against a wall, aggro won't run into a wall. Aggro is not stupid, it's a horse that actually can control the way it goes.
A strong, independent horse.
Pretty much. But it can also lead to a few things that will be coming up later, where we need to actually incorporate movement techniques to get to aggro to go faster. But we'll see that before the next Colossus, and even here a little bit. For example, this whole area is so beautiful that the developers made aggro go slow, and the way we can bypass that, unless aggro runs into a wall, is to do this quick start every time and then stop and do the quick start again, which makes aggro go at full speed every time, and it's actually faster than going there in a slow manner. Well, coming up to Phaedra, I will be doing probably one of the hardest tricks that recently was incorporated into any percent as well. Oh, wish me luck. It's very, very precise, and if it doesn't work out, there is a backup, of course, as there always always has to be for a marathon. But let's see.
We should hype up TikTok. Power up in chat, y'all. Good luck and power ups.
Okay, I missed the setup there. Doesn't matter. So I won't be able to show the launch once more because it only works on first try. But I will still do the little bit of a strat here. Where basically, usually you would go and lead Phaedra to the middle arena, where you can hide and make Phaedra look down, where you can climb. But there's a bit of like climbable textures on these parts of the Colossus, and if done right, okay, that was scary, you can climb up there and bypass all of that. Though, since I didn't manage to do the initial setup, it's a bit harder because the movements are a bit less predictable, but I got there eventually, climbing up. The initial strat that I wanted to show is if you do a very, very precise setup, you can actually use the momentum of Phaedra to bypass everything entirely and fly up all the way onto the back. But yeah, one of the harder tricks, which doesn't work every time.
No worries. And Sancho Panda said great recovery, by the way.
Yeah, this one is known in the races to be one of the big deciders because when you fail that initial lineup, the recovery can be quite painful. So that worked out
said
fairly well.
Wander being real clumsy right now too. So it sounds like you're doing a good job anyway.
Yeah, sometimes you just have those runs where Wander decides to work actively against the runner. We got the shake on the sword and not grabbing the initial setup there. But it doesn't matter, there's only one more Colossus where I can fail miserably and afterwards I should be fine for the most part. It doesn't get easier, but I get more confident as the run goes on.
Oh yeah, sure, no worries at all. Y'all, this is, if you're just joining us, it's tiktak12 with Shadow of the Colossus, and we're running for Speed Doxathon 2023. Welcome in, and thank you for being here. Sancho Panda said 2 left feet and all thumbs wander is the best / worst.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes Wander is just so nice to control and everything works out perfectly and it's so fluid. But most of the time you just shake around every few steps. And that's something and that's something that you learn to deal with speedrunning this game. But you know, even me, who has quite a bit of experience in this game, even I suffer. And the next one coming up is actually one where things can still go wrong. Hopefully they won't. It's Avion, the Flying Colossus, another one of the very memorable one, where I will be trying to, well, first of all climb up and go fast while not falling off, which is easier said than done because Wander, as we saw on the last 2 Colossi, is actively trying to fall off at every possible moment. But you know, Avion is one of those where things can't be avoided. I had marathon where everything worked out perfectly fine. I had marathons where I fell off twice because Wander just did the silliest of things, so we'll see.
It's up to Wander, you're telling us.
Yeah, it's totally not a skill issue. Let's pretend it's that. Yeah. And that's actually the reason why a lot of players usually choose to go through a boss rush, because there's a reset button. But I feel like the added atmosphere and the added time you have to explain everything in 90% is just beautiful. You see all the surrounding areas and the world, which is like so full of life while being more or less empty. There's no like mini bosses or anything like that. So it's just a beautiful sight on its own, even. And I think the way Ueda focused on really making those colossi stand out in an otherwise like landscape like that, it's it adds a lot to the game. So basically a lot of artistic value in there as well. And coming up is Avion. Here, first of all, we have to take a little swim, which is why Practicing with Colossus is a nightmare because every time you reset the time trial, you have to swim, and Wonder isn't fast at swimming. That's why usually we try and avoid swimming at every possible moment, but here it's unavoidable, unfortunately. And here you can see Avion looking down at us. With an arrow we can activate the fight. The first thing I do is re-grab a couple times to kind of glitch up here directly, which makes the whole lineup a little easier. And there's two possible ways Avion can behave from here. It's either wing up or wing down. And wing up I personally like more, so let's see if I can pull this off. I do the stab here. Line up the camera, wait for the animation, fall, and grab the next sigil. And there we go. We're already on the second sigil, and just one more scary fall. And jump. You know what's cool about this game and kind of sad at the same time? When everything works out perfectly, it looks like a quick time event. But whenever it doesn't work out, you just look very, very silly as a speedrunner. But that was a perfect fight, pretty much.
That was so smooth. Even I could see. Wow.
So yeah, and now after Avion, there's still a lot of very, very cool tricks, but I feel like there's less of those moments where a lot of time can be lost. Well, that's not true, but I guess I'm just way better at the late game of the game. But yeah, another long cutscene.
That was awesome. Let me catch you up on donations too. Sancho Panda gave $5. They said save the kiddos is a great cause. Unrelated, Tic Tac, would you call yourself the Magnus Carlsen of the Shadow of the Colossus?
Okay, that's a far-going meme, but no. For anyone unaware.
I feel like that's the best part about Speed Docs is it's all memes and friendships and the community behind speedrunning. So
yeah, for sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
And the Shadow community is one of the better ones. So another pet, if I understood correctly?
Yes.
There we go. And yeah, but actually to take up on that point, Magnus Carlsen being the best chess player there ever was, and both Sancho and I are big into chess and following the whole chess scene. Even though I hold the world record, there have been many, many other amazing players that came before me where I still don't quite have reached the level of many of them, like Odawara or Inception even. JK is a currently runner who's very, very, very good at the game. We used to do a lot of different like big races, and it's always fun to compete, and I feel like currently with the top players there is a fairly even playing field. Even though I hold a majority of the world records, at any moment someone could overtake it, and it's a very, very cool competitive environment. But all very friendly and fun at the same time. So this is the forest.
Yeah.
The forest is the 17th Colossus, and as I mentioned, aggro mechanics. Aggro is scared of everything in this forest: the rocks, the grass, the trees. Everything can be absolutely terrifying. So if you do one wrong move, aggro will just absolutely freak out and stand there for half a minute. That's why only if you do those quick starts in very, very specific places it can go as smoothly as that, but other times aggro will just run into 2 trees in a row and you lose 2 minutes. So quite scary part over.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he just didn't want to be here.
But yeah, coming up is Barba, and another very, very cool Colossus that has 2 very cool speedrun strats. One for any percent specifically is pretty much the only one I think that we use a major glitch, or one of two, I guess. Because all the launches and all the physics things are not glitches, but technically just, well, using the game mechanics to its fullest. Here it's actually just Wander randomly switching positions during the cutscene. So if we skip the cutscene in a very, very specific moment, it's, I think, 5 or 4 frames exact, then you can just warp directly onto the Colossus. If it doesn't work out, there's a very, very cool backup. But yeah, a lot of precision coming up in a bit. And yeah, I know there's like a lot of RPG runners. I specifically know Pokemon, where a lot of very, very precise maneuvers are used that are even more precise than this, but for someone that isn't used to those things, this is still very, very hard. And now I lost my train of thought. Well, anyway, let's just look at this wall, and there's a specific dot on the wall that I'm looking for to skip the cutscene. And if it works out well, then I will be able to warp. Yep, there we are on the Colossus. Usually you start at the bottom, so this is quite a major skip. Since during the actual runs we use in-game time as opposed to real time, this is a lot faster than the other strategy, since cutscenes don't count towards the game time. And I think it's a very, very cool one. Now, after the first sigil is done, this is the second one. And I just did a jump step onto the back sigil. I felt the lineup was right, so I just went for it. It's usually an IO only strat, but that worked out beautifully. But yeah, very good Barbara as well. Slowly regaining confidence as the big nemesis of most 90% runners is coming up ahead.
That looked painful. I'll let you know you do have one pet from Sancho Panda. Y'all, for every donation in that link in chat right there, every $5 right now is going toward petting Aggro the horse here with TikTok. But you can also put your incentives toward voting on the best pasta, voting on all sorts of things. There's a lot of things. So look on the Tiltify there.
There we had the moment where actually I'm gonna give an extra pet there because Aggro was harmed in the process. Where the same button is used for the sword and the pet. Unavoidable, but there we go.
Sid just said bad horse.
Bad horse. So far Aggro has been fine. It's mostly Wander that has been slipping up in the most literal sense. But, you know, we'll see. And there's still a little bit of time towards the next Colossus. Are there any, like, shout-outs or donation readings that you still have?
Nope, we're caught up, but I can tell y'all real quick while we have some time and you get to look at Aggro running through the beautiful wilderness. This is my favorite part, is between the Colossi. But we're raising money today and next weekend and a few here and there throughout September for Save the Children. They're a charity that is dedicated to children in every word of the sense. They're supplying resources everywhere across the world for war efforts, just for getting kids back in school, for giving them the basic necessities to succeed in life. And every single dollar you're donating today goes toward them and toward making that happen. You'd be shocked how much they can do with just $4. They can provide it was like pneumonia treatment for $1, for 4 kids. So like every dollar counts. It's awesome. So thank you so much, TikTok, for running this for us today and for supplying us a great fun way to raise money for them.
For sure. And
I really love these parts.
yeah, it's also a lot of different biomes and very, very beautiful things. There's also like little animals you can find, which also give you an achievement if you find all of them. On a quick side note, if you have a fear of Deep Waters, Thalassophobia, I think it's called. That's coming up, so just skip the next fight if that's an issue.
I can watch. I get these heebie-jeebies that just cannot go away. They're like my... You know, every game has an underwater level. That's what we're coming up on.
Yeah, and Hydras... Actually, now that you mention it, I never saw it as that way, but it's pretty much the water level in every sense. It's slow, it's painful, and the speedrun of it is painful as well.
Oh, yeah.
So Hydras is a big eel, electric eel kind of type of thing. And the speedrun strategy for it is actually very cool, because if you do it well, the fight is very, very quick and fast. But if you mess it up, it's a time loss of multiple minutes. So actually I lied, not Avian, but this one is also a big run killer coming up. But it used to be like pretty much more than half of the runs died here. I found a better lineup, so now it's not quite as bad, but still just as precise. What we will try and do is line up in a very, very specific way and timing where we will be able to aggro the Colossus early. So let's see if I can make this happen. So first of all, water. I have to jump up into a very, very specific part of the water. Kind of right here. Now the fight is triggered. And now I swim for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 swims. Okay, the lineup looks good, but isn't a guarantee of anything, because this Colossus loves to destroy runs. I will attempt to do a jump stab, and that jump stab for some reason triggers the fight here. And if done correctly, I now just have to touch the side here, and we're already on the head. And that was the fight. What you just saw there was another little trick you can do. So jump stabs in this game, you already saw a couple of them, are pretty nice because they are pretty quick and you deal all of the damage of a stab immediately. The way it works though is usually it takes also the longest to get the sword back out of the Colossus, so it balances out like that. Usually it's only good for like very specific instances or as a last stab. But here, since every time you jump stab you go underwater, it cancels the animation and you can go and jump step right away again. And that was again one of the hardest tricks that I pulled off. There we go.
Amazing!
JK is one of the better runners and he says I have no idea why it works. All I know is that it works, and I agree. The best explanation that I have is that somehow the jump stab triggers some kind of aggression because it kind of feels attacked, and if you do it in the right angle it just goes out. But any kind of way where you're off by just a little bit will completely ruin the skip, so that worked out very well.
Awesome. You're caught up on pets right now, just letting you know. And so everybody joining us, if you donate $5 now, we'll be petting the horse aggro extra in between the Colossi fights here. So thank you for being here, and thank you TikTak for this awesome run so far. You're doing great. Of
course. So yeah, yesterday Sable was running The Last Guardian, also a part of like the Team Eco game trilogy so far.
Oh, it is!
Yeah, with her beautiful lizard Mort and all the other lizards. I just thought of that because the Lizard Colossus is coming up.
Wow, okay, so I realized it looked similar. I did not realize this may have to go on my list as well.
Yeah, and
so maybe the horse has some of that AI.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. That never, as much as it's a meme, that never happened before. I don't know why. The game just crashed randomly. Okay, all right. Okay. If I go overestimate, blame aggro, blame Wander, and blame the PS5 for some reason. Okay, I think usually we should be fine to just restart at the Kuro level. I will have to get creative if the save is corrupted, so let's hope it didn't happen like that. Yeah, because usually it crashes either at the very start at Valis, or I saw it crash before on quad when you hit the sigil in the wrong way, but that one is a new one. For sure.
Just as you were on the horse, yeah.
Okay, and the continue button is bugged. Let's see if I have a save with... Okay. 7 defeated. We got lucky. Let's go.
Kitsune said it wouldn't be a marathon without a little scuff. I think that's the best part about Siege Dogs. I said it was the community, but it's also the fact that we're just here to have a good time. So no worries.
Yeah,
awesome.
For sure. It's just interesting because the very first time I ran at Speed Dogs, it was actually a race with Stocky. It was an interesting and very cool race. It was very close. One of the things
I was totally there for that.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened was that we were using a different than usual PS4 Pro that for some reason, even though it had an SSD, was just lagging and loading very weirdly. The Wonder was all of a sudden just glitching out and not doing anything.
Oh my.
So that reminded me a little bit of that. So no Speed Dogs without a little scuff. But that's the first one. I've played this game for probably over 2,000 hours, and that's the first one.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
It's always marathons, isn't it? Let's hope that the Colossus fight triggers in the usual manner. But yeah. So yeah, lizards, Kuromori. The cool thing about Kuromori, it's the easiest of the Colossi in the normal mode. The bad thing about Kuromori is that it's the easiest, so when it fails, it's quite embarrassing. Just throwing that out there to put all the pressure on me. But basically it's one of the fights that can be learned fairly easily. And like anyone of you who wants to try the run, the cool thing about this game is that it's fairly easy to get into. You have a big time trial mode with in-game time, which you can record directly from PS4s or PS5s without any equipment needed. And it's a good way to start out, just doing individual level runs, learning the tricks, getting into the game, and slowly but surely then incorporating it into a full run if you want. If not, there's also quite a few runners that just do individual levels exclusively, which is another big part where, like, if you want to watch any kind of speedruns besides this one currently, I recommend watching the IEL World Records. The individual levels are just optimized beyond anything you can imagine. All the tricks I'm doing, if that's impressive, they are brought to a way bigger extreme during the individual levels. It's always very cool to watch.
Okay.
Okay. That was a little airwalk you can do. It's strictly there for swag purposes. It doesn't serve any other purpose. Well, here it actually saved time. That was pretty cool.
JK said they've got about 1,000 hours speedrunning this game, and that crash surprised them too.
Yep. So let's see, if Kuro spawns we should be fine, if not, yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, looking good. There we go. So the thing we do is whistle, and that triggers to fight. It's kind of funny, first time players, if you just tell them, without spoiling anything, just whistle at the start of the fight, with heavy music starts and you hear just this monster coming up here. It can be quite scary on first time playing, and especially this like line up here that you have to do for a one cycle. When starting out it can be quite difficult, but usually with the fall stunning the Colossus you can do all the steps fairly comfortably. Oh, unless this happens. Oh, and unless this happens. Okay, let's see. I think I should still be able to do this. All the memes happening today. So those were 2 meme stabs in a row, which doesn't happen often, but there you go, twice in a row. The game is actively working against me today, but that makes it so much more fun. And during a hard mode run, that would have actually ruined the one cycle, because there you have to do a lot more stabs, but it worked out.
It did, and you're caught up on pets. Thank you everyone that's donated yesterday, today, and then weeks to come. We're sitting at $1,532, and I'm just amazed with speedrun community right now. This is amazing. So good job, everybody involved.
Well, sure. So the next Colossus is probably the most hated Colossus of them all, for casual players as well as for many speedrunners, because learning that speedrun strat is very, very difficult at first. And that's actually, now that I've... Yeah, in Phaedra we didn't have a yeet, at Gaius we didn't have a yeet, so we will have a yeet here. The way it works is I will be using side jump mechanics, where if you side jump at a very precise moment, you can transfer all of the momentum from the Colossus movement directly into being yoted. Exactly.
Checks out.
And just to make it a little bit fancier, I will also try to line up a jump stab directly onto the sigil. So this will be an AL strat that, as of recently, has seen more and more use during the actual runs. It's a bit difficult, but you know, if I don't get it the first time, there's backups, and this time you will definitely see a yeet, I promise. And the difficult part about this Colossus is, first of all, learning the yeet is pretty difficult because it's very precise. And when running this casually, the way to actually do it is to lure the Colossus onto those big geysers, where if the geyser then activates under the Colossus, it will make him fall, and then you can climb up. It's a very slow and painful process, and thank God you don't have to do that. And I personally think, like, once you get used to this strategy, it's actually one of the cooler Colossi to speedrun, just because there's a lot of depth and to it, and the IEL just has so many cool mechanics. Oh, I just did that completely wrong. Doesn't matter. Let's see. I forgot because there was a newer lineup that makes this a bit easier, but let's see. Nah, not quite. Missed the jump stab, but I got onto the sigil, so that's good enough for me in a marathon. So as I was talking, I basically defaulted to muscle memory, and the little bit of difference that I did there is I didn't wait in a cutscene, and due to that new lineup, you can actually wait in that cutscene to line up an easier way of doing the skip, but I did the old school way, which is also fine. Unfortunately, no jump stab, but this is good enough. And now, another mechanic, if I got this correctly, even though Bassaran will now shake, as you see, Wander is perfectly still. Well, for the most part. I think you got the point for the first few seconds there. And that's called a plant. Basically, if you grab sigils in a very precise timing and positioning, you can make it so Wander just sticks to the Colossus like glue. With Bassaran specifically, it only works on a certain animation, and even then, as you saw, it's not perfect, but it helps being a little bit faster, and that was Bassaran done.
You make it look so simple.
Yeah, in a way it's actually almost more interesting to show more like mistakes in the run, because then you can see how difficult it can actually get. First trying everything is impressive in its own right, but you know, quite a lot of background mechanics going on. And yeah, Dirge coming up. Dirgy Dirge, as we call Dirge sometimes. It's a sand snake. This time aggro will be a big part of the speedrun, as I mean, aggro was already a big part of the speedrun on Phaedra, for example, and on Bassaran, but here specifically we couldn't do the run without Phaedra. Without aggro, sorry. One horse, another horse. It gets difficult.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, even though Phaedra, the fourth Colossus, sometimes also called a llama or a dragon. That's another big meme that I forgot to mention, but there we go. And this will be one of the cooler fights for sure, because you will have to run away from the Colossus while on aggro, while aiming the bow and while hitting the Colossus' eye, because that's the way you make the Colossus go blind, and then the Colossus just rams full speed into a wall where it's stunned and then you can do stabs. But that's only the first part of the puzzle, at least for speedrunners that is, because usually you need 2 cycles to finish this run for Dirge, but as speedrunners we have a little bit of trickery there as well, since during the arrow shot you actually deal a little bit of damage to the eye, which means that damage that you deal to the eye is that little bit of leeway where you can try and understab the first sigil by that amount. As you can probably guess, the amount of damage dealt is very, very low, and if you can easily overstab and ruin the one cycle, or you can easily overstab and ruin the one cycle. So it will be a precision stab, but if I get everything working just right, I will be able to one cycle this Colossus, ideally. So let's see how that goes.
Absolutely, y'all. Let's get some pets ready for this good boy aggro after this fight.
Yeah, aggro is doing a lot of work here. And besides the very last section of the game, I think this is still the only fight that we haven't figured out how to do without aggro, technically. So aggro as speedruns are still not a thing due to that. And another little thing here is, due to the way collision works, even though there's no rock there, I have to go around quite a bit because there is a rock there, even though it's not visible. That's because in the old game, PS3 and PS2, there was a rock there, which they removed for aesthetic purposes, I guess, but the collision is still there. So just a few little things that make the game interesting from my development.
Things you wouldn't know unless you're speeding too, like that wouldn't bother your normal player.
Yeah, and you can't believe how often you just run into that rock as a speedrunner until you just start to go all the way around just to be safe. And there we go, this is Dirge in the background. Here I line up with aggro, running towards Dirge at first, while getting the bow ready. Okay, my arrow shots haven't been quite as on point as usual, but it was enough. So now we go after Dirge, as we see the stun lock has set in. And now I have to do, what is it, 2.3 stabs pretty much. That's why I'm leaning in to just make sure I do it just right. I think that looks correct, but you can never be quite sure until you finish the second sigil. Because as you saw, I didn't finish the first sigil, and that's the whole idea of the one cycle. Because usually you would obviously finish that sigil, and then it would trigger the, like, 2 cycle, and there we go, perfect. That was the 1 cycle. Actually, also one of the, like, speedrun strats that's at first fairly tricky because of how precise it is, but when it works, it's, you know, it just works. More death spaghetti.
Death spaghetti!
And yeah, if you're wondering why there's a big tunnel with light at the end of it and things, that's just lore-related things, and we're obviously skipping all the cutscenes, so, you know, if you're interested in the lore, just play the game. There we go. So, coming up is one of the small boys It's one of the two Colossi that are way smaller than the others, but very, very fast. It's in a casual playthrough, this one is an absolute nightmare, because if you don't know the mechanics thoroughly, that one will just stun lock you and kill you every time. And then once you get the puzzle done, in a casual playthrough you will shake around without any end in sight. So I remember that one specifically took me quite a while to finish in my very first playthrough. But in the speedrun it's also one of the more simple ones, because there's just a few things we do to make it just that little bit easier. So this one is afraid of fire, so the whole thing there is to get a torch, light the torch, and then scare the Colossus away. Make the Colossus fall, and then you can attack the weak point. And the way it's done with speedrun is you light the torch, and then you do it by technicality. You let go of the torch, which makes the Colossus think, oh great, the player doesn't have the torch, so I will run full force into a player. And then right as the Colossus is right in front of you, you pick up the torch again, and then the Colossus is like, oh no, there's fire and I'm near the edge, so I guess I'll fall. And that accelerates the process quite a bit, and also makes Wander fall to a lower level as well, making it just a little bit faster. It's a bit weird looking at it, but it makes perfect sense why it's not a glitch. And there's also a little trick that you can do that is strictly an any % one, where you skip a bit of the movement around the overworld by jumping directly into the arena from the side, because it's on the side of a cliff. So yeah, that will be coming up.
It's so serene in between the fights. It's just lovely to watch.
Yeah, and in a way it's also very cool for the speedrunner, because it gives you time to relax for a little bit and just gather your energy and strength and focus. Because, for example, in the boss rush, you just do all the Colossus fights in a row without any interruptions, because you can just do the time trials, and that one, to me personally, is very stressful. Because of the way it works, there's no in-between pause, and the runs are a lot more optimized because of that, because they're way shorter. But in a way, the any % run is the more authentic experience. So, the Colossus is very fast, but if you time your jumps just right, you can get past here without getting hit a single time, until this point, where, as I mentioned, I will let go of the torch and pick it. Okay, interesting. Let's try this again, shall we? There we go. So this time Colossus was just out for blood a little bit faster than usual. I almost fell, but saved myself on the ledge there. And now we will hopefully finish this off with 2 precise jump steps, which will bypass all the shakes. Otherwise, if you don't get the jump steps, you can also get a plant on here, but this one is just a little bit faster and the fight is already over. And now one of the very, very quick ones.
Wow, but you saved that just fine. I think you have some good muscle memory anyway.
Yeah, that happened more than once. I remember when it happened at first, and I was just in disbelief and falling into the abyss. But actually, if you just press the grab button most of the time, Wander will recover just fine.
In his defense, he's dealing with a lot in one day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Welcome in. If you're just coming in, hi. We're here at Speed Docs Day 2. Speed Docs-a-thon 2023 is the annual fundraiser for Save the Children. You're hearing me, just me, Emily P, and I'm with tiktak12, and we're watching Shadow of the Colossus run. Any %.
And the next Colossus is the actual painful one. When people say Bassaran is the most painful Colossus, they are all wrong. It's Pelagia. because, well, on normal it's not as bad, because here technically if you do the run perfectly, it's always a perfect lineup and you get everything flawlessly. But even on normal, a small slip up can cost a lot of time. And on hard mode specifically, there's also a little bit of RNG involved, which can make this run lose or gain a minute or two at any moment. It's pretty... You know, I personally like the hard mode run a lot, but not gonna lie, every time I got to this part on hard, it was stressful, because, well, it can go either way and there's a little bit of RNG involved. Here on normal it's a bit easier, so this is the Colossus, another one in the water, where you attack the Colossus' teeth on the head, as per usual, to make the Colossus move in certain directions, so you can kind of steer the Colossus. And it's a bit of a bamboozle in a casual playthrough, because you just climb up onto the bag and think, okay, but there's the sigil. And that's where the the puzzle comes in. So if you lure this Colossus by attacking the teeth to one of the gazebo looking structures, you can make the Colossus attack you and go onto the gazebo, and then it reveals the sigil that was at the belly underwater all this time. It's actually quite bizarre speedrun wise, because in the individual level run you activate a certain animation where you just glitch yourself onto the belly immediately and then do underwater steps. It's very bizarre and surreal and insane that it's actually faster than the run, because you're stabbing so slowly underwater. But I will be doing the more consistent and usual strategy here, which is get the Colossus to a gazebo, and then there is a way to do a one cycle. This one is again very precise, because... Okay, thank you, aggro, that's the wrong way. There we go, that was the first aggro troll we had today. So this whole section you go faster by doing the quick starts, but since I quick started too close to a wall, aggro just turned around, because aggro didn't wanted to run into a wall. So a bit of backtracking here, but that's fine. Beautiful waterfalls, they can actually fall down if you're not careful here, and lose a whole run as well. That happened before. But yeah, as I was saying, so the way to do a one cycle on this fight on normal is to understab on the first two stabs just by a little bit, so you don't get to the 50% health level, because at 50% health it triggers an animation. But if you do like 49% amount of health, which is like 1.9 stabs, and then do another stab, as the Colossus is lowering, you can trigger that animation late, and that gives you just about enough time to get the one cycle with a fourth stab in between. It's fairly precise, and specifically since I've been doing a couple PS3 runs in the couple months before this, so I'm not actually as warmed up with this game. But on the PS3 version this is painful, because it just never works. It's so bad with the shakes. Somehow the way they devs remastered the PS3 version, the Colossus is incredibly shaky, and thank God it's not the case here in the PS4 version. So here with a very precise timing you can jump up all the way there by just defying physics and standing on a few pixels there, and that allows me to set up the positioning here perfectly. So now if I do this correctly, I will be able to cancel the animation, roll to the side, and in one jump down here. I'll position just a bit to make sure the lineup is great. Now I do the 0.9 stab or 0.8 stab, one more full stab to trigger the animation as I mentioned, and then one last stab for one cycle. Perfect. So yeah, that was a textbook Pelagia pretty much. Oh, thank God.
No worries. Shake it off. You're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, on normal it's not as bad of a fight, but messing up just a little bit can cost minutes, because sometimes the Colossus, if you don't have the initial lineup, just doesn't feel like doing the animation. and then Pelagia turns to the right, to the left, waits for half a minute, then tries again, and then sometimes decides to do the animation, and then you can still miss one cycle. But that was
Still
fine.
can't get over your death spaghetti comment. Now every time I see it, it's freaking death spaghetti.
Yeah, I have to make sure to incorporate more of the community memes as I go forward.
That's the dumb part. That's what I know the most about most communities, is their specific meme framework.
For sure. And then,
Awesome.
isn't there also an incentive about, like, pasta? I wasn't quite paying attention, but...
No worries, no worries. You're caught up. Y'all, they're talking about incentives. TikTok is mentioning this because he's been gracious enough. If you donate $5 still, I think you have a little bit more time. We can still pet the horse. Every $5 is going to pet aggro for us, which we don't get to do every game. It's very special, as our, what was your name again? Young Toonfish said. So... please do, if you can. The donation link is in the chat, and if you're hanging out with us, maybe your friends don't know you're here, share at the top pinned in chat there, share that Twitter link. Maybe your friends can hang out with us here too.
Yeah, and as I just very clumsily changed my control scheme there, this is because the next Colossus coming up is Phalanx. Usually this is like some kind of turning point in the story even, because if you haven't been noticing, we're doing quite awful things to these beautiful creatures that don't do any harm unless you provoke them. And this is the first Colossus where actually the Colossus can't physically kill you unless you, well, at all. You're just attacking this magnificent creature for nothing, because Wander is morally, let's say, ambiguous. And well, speedrun-wise, this is a flying Colossus where we have to attack 3 giant floating sacks to make the Colossus lower. And if I do this correctly, I can, in theory, do a speedrun trick, which is fairly difficult to do on any percent. I will try anyway. There, if we do everything correctly and perfectly, you can, if you're lucky, 50% of the time, get onto the Colossus very, very quickly. If I get it, I will mention how exactly it's different. And for that, for me personally, classic controls are a bit easier, so let's see how I can make that lineup work. Have to make the horse stand right here and go trigger the fight. And just we are running on aggro, I'm trying to target... Okay, this won't work. The way aggro went there wasn't quite perfect, so this won't be VIL, unfortunately. For VIL, okay, this wouldn't have been VIL anyway, because the Colossus turned right. But if the Colossus turns left, and you get all of those sacks immediately, you can make the Colossus slower under the sand and jump directly on top of it. Otherwise, you just use these wing flaps to get up there, no problem. And here it's another part where you use the fact that we dealt damage already, with the sack damage, to understep this first to sigil to bypass a couple animations, which would make this a hard one cycle. But doing it this way makes it fairly trivial. And yeah, just one more sigil and the Colossus will be done. The same way that it started, unless he shakes, then it will take a little longer. There we go.
Wow, these flying fights are just my favorite ones. I know there's only been 2 so far, but they were the coolest.
Yeah, especially with this one, the scale of this Colossus and how you're using it pretty much as an arena. It's quite crazy.
I'm still almost, I say speechless, I can never be speechless, it's not possible. But I'm still reeling, I should say, from the way you flipped from one wing to the other on the first fight. That was still, it keeps playing in my mind. That was amazing.
Yeah,
Spaghetti.
yeah, it's very cool how this game, if everything works out, it's just so cool to watch the speedrun strats off. And with the flying ones, there can be quite a few different things that you can do on top of just the usual strategy as well. If you liked what I did on the Avion the first time, I recommend you watch the IL, or anyone watching here, in fact, because the individual level there goes even further with the strategy.
Oh, wow.
There, if you time a jump step just right, you can land on the first swing instantly. But that's a strategy, you know. For a marathon, sometimes if I feel very, very confident, I might try it. But I haven't been practicing it recently, it's very hard. Usually an aerial strat only. But yeah, coming up is actually my favorite Colossus. And if there's any donations or shoutouts, we have quite a bit of time because that one takes quite a bit to get to.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then you're saying go for it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, y'all, if you're just joining us, this is day 2 of Speed Docs-a-thon 2023. We do this fundraiser every year with the Speed Docs community, and thank you to you watching, to all the donations so far, to TikTak for running and all our runners. For, I guess I should also thank the other hosts, maybe not myself, but the other hosts, restreamers, or quietly. There's so many volunteers and moving pieces here to make this happen right now. So thank you for being part of it. Everybody, thank you. So if you didn't know, or you're just coming in, or you've never heard of it, we're working with Save the Children. It's a charity that is dedicated to all sorts of facets of taking care of the kids in wartime, in peacetime, in every way you can think of. Medicine, education, they're there for it. And they've got so many hundreds of thousands of people working to make sure that happens every year. They've affected 1 billion lives, and every donation you put in today is going toward that mission and making that happen. If you're just joining us now, you're here with TikTak, myself, Justine Emily P, and we're playing Shadow of the Colossus on PS4 any percent. And this has been a really great run through. If you're hanging out with us, we're riding our pet aggro, or our horse aggro, which we could pet for $5 extra. Donate in the link or Tiltify. Look, you can also vote for your favorite, like pasta. You can put toward other incentives coming up for upcoming runs, and it's just going to be a great weekend. So whatever you can do or feel like doing, let your friends know you're here and hanging out, and let's just have a good old time, right?
For sure. I'm wondering, for the favorite pasta, is it like predetermined like things, or can it also be Def Spaghetti? Like.
I need to see. I'm gonna Google like all the memes for Death Spaghetti in this game after this. That's gonna be the first thing I do.
Oh, there's a big other meme coming up later that I can talk in depth about with my personal story of a certain Colossus, but for now it's coming up with my favorite, and it's Zenobia. Still a long way ahead because he's the farthest one travel time wise, I think, or at least tied for it. It's another one of the small boys, the big doggo or lion or whatever, boar, whatever you want to call them. And so the way the fight works is usually I also like the casual fight a lot. Basically, you have to go from pillar to pillar and make the Colossus attack those pillars to move yourself forward step by step. It's quite a lengthy process, but quite cool how they incorporated like the structure with like this, old ruins pretty much. We will bypass all of that by using the second glitch that we will use this game. And for that, I don't think it will be visible on stream because I'm already only streaming at 30 FPS, I think, or something along those lines. But I will have to switch from the beautiful 60 FPS to 30 FPS to be able to pull this trick off. Basically, if you remember, I talked about the way they restructured certain collision for the PS4 remake, and it comes into play a lot here because the pillar on the base has quite glitchy collisions, and that leads to glitchy stuff happening. Pretty much Wonder can kind of walk into the polygons there and then forcibly get thrown out of there after getting there. And if you time it right, and if you have a little bit of luck, I guess, as well, you can force a super jump to happen, where you just fly up for no apparent reason other than polygons. And that's the first part of the trick. The second part will be another one that is caused to just an aesthetic decision. So in the original games there were no plateaus on the back wall. Here they are, and if I time it correctly, during the cutscene where I make the pillar fall, I will be able to maneuver myself onto those plateaus to jump onto the next section of the run directly. It will make a lot more sense once you see it, I guess. But let's get there. And I personally have a lot of history with SIL as well, especially with improving a lot of the setups for the super jumps, and I was the first to incorporate the so-called wacky jump, which is the jump right after. So, okay, Wonder is incorporating. Come on, there we go. That was the super jump. Just as we love it. Now we attack the Colossus to get aggro again, while I aim down here to get the aggro during the cutscene once more. And during this cutscene, as you see in the background maybe a little bit, you can jump on there. And let's see if I can get the blind jump. Yep, I got it. I'm already on the next part. If it was difficult to see, it's because it's quite, well, those structures pretty much in the back you can jump on during the cutscene. And that was pretty much perfect. The super jump took a little bit, but we went from the pillar to the plateau to triggering Zenobia pretty much instantly. And now I will do a blind jump to land on the Colossus and do the stabs, where ideally I get a plant. Oh, I failed the jump. No worries. We can also jump from here. There we go, and we got a plant. Another one of those colossi where the plant is very, as you see, strong. Because usually you would be shaking around a lot all over the place. But with just the right timing and positioning, this is possible. And yeah, that was Zenobia.
It really was, like, you had to be up in that corner and just jump and hope, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I usually am facing the wall while doing so. That's why my angle wasn't quite right, because Wonder was angled in a different way than usual. But it's fine. And I personally like Vaya a lot. A lot of people hate it because the super jump mechanic can be a little bit tricky and sometimes a bit random. But, you know, they used to use a lot of very, very different strats before I started incorporating all of this. So in a way I made this run faster on my own just by pushing the IL quite a bit further than was previously thought possible.
What a cool, like, stake to the timeline of this game and speedrunning it, though. That's very neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also quite funny with how, like, this second jump on the plateaus was discovered actually pretty much during a casual playthrough that a friend of mine did, just absolutely casually. Wait, which Colossus? Yeah, Argus. Usually you have the splits up, but sometimes there's just this little moment, wait, where was I again? So he was doing casual playthroughs, and I was watching him on Twitch, and he was like, huh, you speedrunners probably jump directly to the plateau there. And I was like, no, we actually don't, but interesting thought. And then my girlfriend at the time looked into it further and just casually found the wacky jump, now called wacky jump.
How cool.
Which allowed me to get the world record by cutting another 5 seconds, and it's quite funny. She also made a video off of that where she shows the original footage of the skip being discovered, and it's like the most lame and casual thing ever. It's so funny to watch.
What? Am I hearing we should do a Shadow of the Colossus doc at one point? That is so cool.
Well, guess what? You're lucky because it's already a thing.
I'm a horrible, horrible, horrible mod. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. That is so cool.
Yeah, it also talks a lot about all of that, and yeah, it was very funny because it was like all those speedrunners focusing for years on the improvising and on like improving the old strategies, and then some casual speedrunner, and even though Wacky was running the game, she wasn't like top tier or like full on IO runner, and she just found it like that. It's very, very cool lore wise. And yeah, the next fight is also quite cool. It's Argus. It's the big monkey ape Colossus thing with a giant axe, I guess. And here the usual strategy is quite in-depth and very cool on its own as a casual experience, where you have to like trigger certain checkpoints and run around and trigger all those little things to climb up the wall and jump from the top. We won't do any of that. So in the speed docs we also talk a lot about the strategy, because originally it was more casual in a way. Since the Colossus, when you attack a weak point, it drops the weapon where you can then attack the second sigil. But in the remake, they actually made it so the trigger to activate the weak point was moved to a different section in the like casual strategy. So we couldn't do it anymore without skipping, without you know, not using another part of the skip, so we came up with a lot more strategies to bypass that, which makes the run even faster and a lot cooler in a way. So what we will do there is directly jump into the hand and glitch right into a little pocket of fur between the weapon and the actual hand, where you can kind of still stab the sigil. It's fairly precise, but that's how we bypass the first problem. And then we will just yeet, so it'll be fun. The yeets are always fun.
I went and found the doc too. I'm gonna watch this. I'm so excited now.
Yeah, I recommend anyone watch this. I was heavily involved in the creation of it as well as other top runners of the game. It's very cool.
Very cool. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now though.
Okay, glitched into the hand, and I will just do the extra difficult strat because I felt like it. There we go. This was the IL strat because the lineup looked right. I felt like going for it. So, usually you wait out an animation to go for that jump, but if you are quick enough, you can jump right into the initial animation, and with a very, very precise way of doing so, skip another 10 seconds. So that was YL Argus, pretty much. You know, as I pretty much mentioned, like the first 4 Colossi were but as the game goes on, I become more confident, and now everything works. It's great.
No, it seems that way. You were very hesitant at first, but now you've gotten so many textbook runs, and now like it's just looking so good.
And actually, for everyone, last chance to donate $5. Because, well, we won't be able to pet the horse soon anymore. I'll just put it that way.
So put TikTok, y'all. Push enter, quick.
Put in your donations. I will call the time on that incentive shortly, but not right away. Because coming up is the last Colossus. And I have quite a history of this Colossus, so far as there is a term in the speedrunning community that is called being tic-tacked. Being tic-tacked means you're on a very good run, potentially world record pace, and then you fail on the last Colossus very horribly and painfully, in all the imaginable ways. And you know, I had quite a few record runs that were like ruined by Colossus, even though it's not considered that hard in the grand scheme of things. And specifically, it's always in the most ridiculous ways. I am the only person to get soft locked in a very certain spot in this Colossus, and I did it twice. No one else has done it besides me. Then during another marathon in a big race, I managed to get flung by the Colossus in a very weird way, where I just flew back pretty much to a temple almost, because I got a big boost out of nowhere. And other times where the Colossus just hates me, you know, it's all over the place, and it's great. I love it. Especially since, you know, we already had the crash on Kuromori, we already had, like, Wander stumbling around on Gaius, not getting onto Phaedra immediately. You know, now could be a very cool moment where I just get flung into the abyss out of nowhere. But we'll see.
It's cool. You mentioned it's the same creators as The Last Guardian, and I think it's cool that, I mean, that happens. There's so much AI involved, and like, I just see such weird things from y'all during these runs.
Yeah.
And then every time you're like, oh, it's never happened before.
In all of the 3 Eco games, there's actually a theme. Like, in Eco as well, like the companion, you have Yorda there, where usually Yorda never dies unless it's by the shadow enemies. But sometimes Yorda can just randomly fall, and you know, you game over out of nowhere, and it's very funny at times. But yeah, we're getting to Malice, the last Colossus. There's this big door that I have to activate, and last chance for a donation. I will call the time once we're past this door.
Alrighty, you heard them all. The donation link is in there from Shirley. Thank you so much, and welcome all the mods. Thank you everybody that's here watching and just hanging out and posting on Twitter. I see you all. Thank you so much. He's gonna call it. That's gonna be the last for pets, but you can still donate throughout this week and the next. We're just gonna lose our last chance for aggro in that pet. So do it.
Alright, the door is opening. I guess we still have a couple more seconds left.
Press enter if you're on it. Quick, guys.
I mean, I can walk forward still a little bit. But before the stairs, we have to call it. Okay, now I have to ask, is there any more pets?
No, not at this time. You are good to go.
Unfortunate. Well, so we're coming up to a part of the game where speedrunners just laugh it off because it happens so often, but it's quite, you know, if animals getting hurt is a thing for you, maybe look away.
Look away, y'all.
Aggro served us well this run.
Wait, what? Don't tell me.
Aggro!
Tic Tac, how could you?
It was with Bridge, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
But, okay, for all of you, I let that moment sink in, but Aggro is fine. If we have some... Aggro is fine, okay? Aggro is a good swimmer. There's memes around where Aggro has those paddles and the swimming gear and all. Aggro is fine. Don't know how, but Aggro is fine and will return at the end of the game.
Thank you for that. I think you just like, everyone's speeding hard, it's just calmed.
Yeah, usually we throw insults at Aggro at that point when the run wasn't going too well, you know, it's just the speedrunners being awful people kind of thing. Or, you know, what I like to do is give, like in the Olympics, you know, how was the jump, how was the form and all. Aggro is very good as a swimmer and diver. Alright. So, for the fight itself, Malice is a gigantic statue. With big bolts of fire, meteor, asteroids, lasers, whatever you want to call it. Big asteroids falling towards you and trying to crush you, and all your hopes and dreams of the run being over and well. And, well, the speedrun way to do is to just ignore the bolts and run. Run past them. And if you do it perfectly, then it's fine. But if you don't, you can lose the run. So let's do this. You know, first asteroid coming, dodged. Second, going just short. Third one, we'll run forward and roll. No, not right now. Okay, didn't get soft locked. That's fine. All of it is fine. Good. We're fine. We're back on track. So the way those work is pretty much I can technically bypass all of them if I just time the jump perfectly fine. Where I was just a little bit short, so one of them hit me, and that sometimes led the game to be soft locked for me, but thankfully it didn't happen this time. So we are at part 2. Now we climb onto this big giant Colossus. And here usually you have to parkour a lot around all of the Colossus. You have to hit the back, get onto one of the arms, get onto the second arm, wait, and it's painful and boring and slow, and I hate it. So the speedrun strat is actually easier, I would even say, than the casual playthrough, because here we use a way to just fling ourselves with some more physics. So I will go for a little bit faster strategy, where we hit it from below. And now if I time it right, I should be able to jump directly onto the hand and then yeet myself. Let's see. Okay, I'll just do a safety stab here, just so the lineup is better. And now we get flung to the top, and we're already here. Malice looks very, very surprised every time. And now I just have to plant, and that would be Malice. Didn't get soft locked, didn't get yeeted to the abyss, so that's a good run to me.
Wow.
Just one more stab, and the time doesn't end on the Colossus kill, because there's some bit of lore that we still have to go through to officially end the run. But this was the last gameplay section, pretty much. The last one is a bit more memes, so if you like memes, it's coming up in a little bit. Okay, Death Spaghetti for the last time. And then I will skip a cutscene. Don't ask how we got from A to B. It's very confusing. Just don't worry about it, because we just turn into a big god Colossus entity. And the cool thing here is I just made him float, ideally, which is a glitch. And the celebratory moment of every run. While floating, you can also do the blue raspberry vape.
No way.
Keep in mind, kids, vaping is bad for your health, but this is Dorman. I don't think he cares anymore.
We get it, you vape.
And
How funny.
let's see. Okay, the lineup isn't. Okay. See, this is another meme that I barely made work. If you hold it into the light just in the right way, it looks like he has a laughing face. I don't know. It's gone. Never mind. We have an emote of that on our server after PDO found it. But yeah, here we just wait for our demise. Usually you would attack for lore-related reasons, but it's faster to just ignore the guards, wait for them to slowly move away while we, I don't know, do some more memes.
What a cool way to end such a like arduous run.
Yeah, and now we just have to get into the big pool of, I don't know, the healing water, I guess. So Wander can finally get rid of Dorman, and that's time.
He was literally tripping.
Yeah. Sometimes you can get there all the way without tripping a single time, but it's rare. And that's Shadow of a Colossus. So there's still a little bit of like an cutscene where you can see Aggro returning and all the fun lore things. Wander turns into a baby and lore, prequel to Eco, whatever. So yeah.
Some friends.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a deer and some other animals. Mono wakes up, so she is actually revived, even though Wander turned into all kinds of things. But yeah, that was Shadow of the Colossus. I hope you all had fun watching. The only thing I want to shout out is the community we have, the community server. If you like any of the Team Eco games, make sure to join. It's a lovely community, and we're always there to help new runners get into the game. It's a lot of fun. And
memes.
And memes. A lot of fun memes for sure. I have a whole compilation on me failing on my YouTube channel if you want to watch that. And otherwise, I also stream on YouTube, on Twitch rather, and have YouTube videos up. So if you want to watch that, feel free. It's mostly Shadow of the Colossus.
Awesome.
Sometimes also some other runs like Eco, Last Guardian, or even some Pokemon here and there. But yeah, that's it from me. If you want to wait to see if the horse is fine, we still have a few minutes. Otherwise, that's it.
Oh, good. No, I'm just going to say thank you so much for running for us, for helping us gather some more donos for Save the Children. We got a shout out for TikTok, so go click his name there. It'll bring you to his Twitch. That'll bring you to his YouTube. That'll bring you to the meme compilation and the fails and the fun stuff. And then you can get even more information or fun things out of the Speed Docs coverage of the Shadow of the Colossus. So you can see and hear even more about TikTok.
Yeah, definitely big recommendation on the Speed Docs coverage as well.
Awesome. At least she's okay, I guess. I don't have a lot of feelings toward her right now. I've only seen speed runs.
we didn't see a lot of her introduction, yeah. I guess. She's just there now. She was there.
What happened?
She was there in the sun for a long time, probably a sunburn or something. And yeah, Aggro will be coming up shortly.
How lovely. If you're just joining us, this is day 2. We are just starting. This is the first run of the day. Day 2 is Shadow of the Colossus. This was with TikTok, and we're just wrapping up with the end of it here. Time's done, and we're hanging out with the end of the game and getting set up for the next run. Actually, I can let you know that here in a second when we do some little shenanigans. So other than that, make sure you're going in and clicking on that shout out to TikTok. Make sure you're clicking on that Tiltify link. That'll bring you to where you can vote for fun things. You can go toward other incentives. There are more Pet the Incentives going on for other games. And generally, we can just be happy that Aggro's okay.
Yeah,
I think he'll walk it off.
Yeah, I think Aggro only made it because of the pets we gave during the run.
Oh.
Alrighty.
Oh, what good closure. Thank you for that. What a great first run. And you were so nervous before. You were like, oh, I'm rusty. No, that was great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for hosting. It was a pleasure.
All right, stay tuned with us. We're going to go into a quick intermission, and we'll be back with our next run. It's going to be with HUD 601 right here on Speed Docs-a-thon 2023, and we're going to play the Sonic Classic Trilogy, the Boss Rush Shuffler. And there was a bid war. I think we're coming up on the cutoff for it, though, so we'll see you there. And TikTok, we'll see you next time. We'll see you in chat. We'll see you on your YouTube and your own Twitch. And thank you so much again for coming back. What a solid start to the morning. Oh, wait. I can't say good morning. Good time zone. I'm in Pacific. What time is it for you? regardless of your time zone, it is time for Sonic Classic Trilogy. We'll be right back here shortly to start with the Boss Rush Shuffler with Inner Punkness and commentator Mendez.